example 1 in part 1, where I showed how one can use chord progressions to bring in notes that are outside the underlying key, using beautiful chords that are sometimes borrowed from other keys. To the example in part 2, where I showed how one can switch between major and minor tonalities having the same root. That is, for example, switching between the keys of B major and B minor. Again, using chords as our primary tool to achieve that. To this example in part 3, where I show how you can use chords with a common tone to switch between two different minor keys. All this while, I have been trying to impress how chords are used in jazz, or can be used in jazz, to create a very rich and compelling musical experience for the listener, yet at the same time create a very challenging and exciting learning proposition for any player, composer, teacher, essentially musician. Coming back to the example, this piece starts in the key of G minor, and somewhere along the piece it moves towards the key of B flat minor. Now before I get to the point where we do the switch, I'd like to show you the chords along the way on the degrees of the scale so that you get the context. Now the first motive goes something like this. Now this is based out of 3 chords. The first chord is a minor 7 chord on the 5th degree, that is D minor 7 in the key of G minor, going to the C7 chord, a dominant 7 chord on the 4th degree, going to the flat 3rd B flat major chord, the flat 3rd chord, major chord on the flat 3rd degree. Now when you hear the sound of the C dominant 7 chord on the 4th degree, it has a slightly outside G Dorian sound. Instead of the more traditional this would have been brought about had I used the C minor 7, but we used the C dominant 7. Anyway, the next thing that happens here is I do a movement which is a 2 flat 7 1 movement. That is a 2 half diminished chord, or the A half diminished minor 7 flat 5 chord. On the 2nd degree, going to a dominant 7 chord, that is F7 on the flat 7 degree, going to the 1 minor 7 chord, that is G minor 7. Now of course in the piece I'm not playing it exactly like so, I'm just playing the 2 and flat 7. Let's hear. But there's this feeling that you want to go to the 1 chord. The next thing I do is I play a 2-5-1, a more traditional jazz kind of a progression, but there's a variation there too. I'm not playing the dominant chord on the 5th degree. That is, a more traditional jazz progression would have been. That is a 2-5 dominant 7 minor 7. But instead we get to play a 2 half diminished going to a minus 7 on the 5th degree, going to, of course in the progression, in the piece I play 2 versions of the minor 7 chord, once like this and another time as the 2nd inversion. So the D minor 7 gets played 2 times. Let's hear how it sounds in the piece. Now this is the point where we do the switch when we play this a repeat. That means when we play this a 2nd time. When we play this a 2nd time, the moment I get to this D minor 7 chord in the 2nd inversion, I use a chord with a common tone. Now this chord D minor 7 has the note C, and if you look at it, the C half diminished chord also has the note C on it. But it has an interesting twist along with it. Here the pull of the C half diminished chord is towards the B flat minor chord 2. See the nice pull between these 2 chords? So this chord, actually this chord with a common tone C, forms the nice transitionary process, starts the nice transitionary process to the new key, that is B flat minor. And I kind of concretize it by playing a 4 flat 3 2 1 progression in the new key of B flat minor. Sounds something like this. Of course in the piece I'm doing it slightly differently, something like this. And voila, suddenly our mind is gravitated towards the new key of B flat minor. Now somewhere along this piece, I move back from the key of B flat minor back to the key of G minor, like so. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my G minor 7 chord in the key of G minor. Now if you think that this transition sounded quite sudden, let me break this down a bit for you so you don't feel so. Now the last chord, effectively, that I play in the key of B flat minor in the piece is this B flat minor 7 chord. You can forego the small melodic extension which I play, which is, as what the listener retains in his brain is the sound of the B flat minor 7 chord as it's being played quite a few times. From this chord, I then move to the chord D minor 7. Now I'd like to view both these chords in a certain different way, but before that, let me add G minor 7 on top of these two chords, and let's hear this progression. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. I already find a nice, resolution sound to this progression. Now I said that B flat minor 7 can be viewed in a different way. That is, you can actually call it a D flat major 6, which has the D flat sound inside, D flat major sound inside it. The root being D flat and F being the major third. The next chord similarly, which is D minor 7, can be viewed as the F major 6 with the F as the root. So now what we have is two chords, D flat major and F, that share a common tone, that is F. Now what happens is that pivoting these two chords create a pivot on a common tone that then opens up a gateway towards a new key, or creates a pull to move towards a new key. Now if you remember my piece called Fun in Looping, where I did the harmonic analysis of that piece, I also discussed how in any minor key, the chord on the flat 7 degree, a major or a dominant 7 chord, has a nice strong pull towards the 1 minor chord, 1 minor or 1 minor 7 chord. So in our case, if we think the flat 7 chord is F major, then that would mean that G minor is our 1 minor chord, and you can hear the nice resolution that it has. Now if we consider these three chords together, what happens is in the first two chords we are pivoting on a common tone to open up a new gateway or create a pull towards the new key. Let's hear 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Pivot on the common tone, move towards the new key. Pivot on the common tone, move towards the new key. Pivot on the common tone, creates a pull towards the new key. Now if you think that this is a one-off thing, let me apply this in another progression between the same two keys, that is B flat minor going to G minor, and you'll recognize these three chords at the end, and then you know I've applied the same approach. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my progression in the key of B flat minor.